When you gaze at the abyss, it gazes back. Such a sentence fits nowhere else but the depths of the sea. A world designed by nature, left mostly unknown to us, a depth so blue and dark, even the sun's glow fails to grasp its true face. Despite our technological achievements, we are still nowhere close to understanding how one lives there. If it's any consolation, we recognize that the sea belongs to us. But what if you are forced to conquer the sea that doesn't belong to us? Barotrauma, by definition, is a specific injury that is caused by a difference in pressure, often associated with gas or in this case, liquid like water. Sudden exposure to such pressure will compress your body, tearing body tissue, organs, or even bones, which makes this submarine horror game a bit more fitting. It is a game developed by Fake Fish and Undertow Games, first released on 14th of March 2023. Before you ask, yes, it is the same Undertow Games that developed SCP Containment Breach. What a deadly combo. Before I begin, I'm laying out my mods here, just in case you like to have a go at it, as some of these mods improve and overhaul vanilla Barotrauma. If you're asking about EAHI, it's anime. Why is it anime? Simple. Vanilla characters look atrociously uncanny. The premise of the game is simple. Taking place in the 21st century, you're one of the submariners who immigrated to Europa, Jupiter's moon, after the discovery of sea life under its irradiated icy surface. As human colonies grew, the Europans grew dissociated with Earth and eventually lost contact under mysterious circumstances. Since then, subaquatic travel has become a way of life. Tunggu bentar, sejak kapan bulan punya samudera? Being a submariner is a lucrative job, albeit short-lived. Why? Because European wildlife decides to enact its Second Amendment, and they somehow can tear through metal. Oh shit! And maybe because some of those submarines dive too deep into the abyss. Oh well. In this game, you do not merely control one character but a whole crew of the submarine of your choice, assuming you're playing solo. You start with a captain, a mechanic, and an engineer. The captain's job is to drive the sub. The mechanic fixes the sub and its systems. The engineer fixes electrical lines and runs a nuclear reactor. Oh yeah, all the subs in this game are run with a nuclear reactor. Yes, I accidentally caused a meltdown before. Now how do you make it explode? Oh shit. Oh shit. Other than the crew, there are three types of subs in the game: Scout, agile but lacking armaments; Attack, main battle sub with considerable firepower; and Transport, characterized by its cargo capacity. All subtypes except Attack have the option to add a mineral scanner when upgrading, and some subs have compartments that other subs might not have, specifically the engineering room and the med bay, both of which are viable as crafting stations if you're looking for a cheaper option. If this is your first time playing this game and your main focus is money, I will recommend getting the Camel sub. Depending on the cargo missions you pick, it can go as high as 5,000 marks, enough to make resupplying and upgrading your sub bit by bit. Now, with this game being 2D, it makes shooting and moving easier. However, it is also a problem because friendly fire is a thing and there's no toggle for it. Moving on. Now, I must clarify, you have to grind for a long time to get both money and level up your crew. It may be boring work, but remember the motto.
Boring is always best.
If you did get in trouble with European wildlife, well, I will be a little worried by then, even if it's just small-time monsters like the crawlers and mud raptors. We can do it, we can... Oh shit! By the time you dock in the next outpost, you can explore around and participate in random events happening at different outposts. It can be helping a bunch of clowns getting their bighorns back. Don't laugh, I'm serious. talking to teens about being a submariner, seeing someone convulsing from infection, a terrorist nuclear bomb. No, nobody, nope, 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 no, nobody, nope, 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 nope. Bye-bye. Yeah, bloody nuts. Speaking of clowns, there are 4 factions in this game. The main ones are the Coalition, the autocratic government with an iron grip on almost all aspects of life, and the Jovian Separatists, a ragtag group of pro-democracy terrorists. The other 2 are the Church of the Husk, a cult group that wants to evolve humans by the use of husk infection. What's a husk infection? Well, these are the victims. No, the cult doesn't endorse turning people into mindless husks. They're pretty cool actually. And lastly, children of the Hong Mother. Goddamn clowns. Anarchy incarnate. And the kind of people who will drive securities insane. I like their jolly nature. Each mission you pick will have a reputation modifier that will increase their like or dislike of you. Higher rep with a faction gets a nice bonus on discounts, access to faction exclusive items, and in rare cases, a free hire in your crew. If it's the opposite, items will get expensive, and if you piss them off badly enough, they'll give you a warning to leave. If you haven't yet, they're going to want your ass dead. Now, about the types of outposts. It especially affects what kind of shops and items will be available at your next stop. A basic colony only has general stuff, a mining colony sells rare materials and transport subs, a research colony sells genetic items and scout subs, a military colony sells weapons and attack subs, and the city has everything. What is universal other than general stores are medical, submarine shop, and HR department. Oh yeah, HR department. You can hire more crew from this guy. Or girl. So many disposables, but I have no money. This here is the skill tree of a crew member. Depending on what occupation a crew member is specialized in, each has their own different set of skills, and some allow us to craft items that the outposts don't have. To put it simply, the captain's trait is the best, specifically if you pick the politics option first, as this will incredibly help with juggling reputation due to how broken this is. I prioritize having 2 captains on a single sub to make it fast. Now, this brings us to 3 more jobs: security and medic, both of which are explanatory, and finally, assistants. Assistants are generally all-rounder crew members and are often considered the most expendable members of all occupations. Now seriously, look at their skill tree. All of Europa either despises or loves this kind of person. There's no in between. Effectively making this member the main source of D-class for you to throw at monsters or enemy humans. Now what about guns? There are 2 types, for the subs and for your crew. Guns for the crew are what you expect: modern pistols, shotguns, rifles, grenade launchers, and nuclear explosives. What? That's actually a thing in this game. But if we're getting serious, we're talking about the subs guns. Even that has 2 categories, small turrets and big turrets. In vanilla, there isn't much in the way of variants: coil guns, chain gun, laser, black gun, and rail gun, which is the most destructive weapon of all. But the ammo used is expensive and low volume compared to other guns. With enhanced armaments mode, you get more options, such as the turret-mounted machine guns and even prototype submarine guns. Coil cannons might be the best go-to gun in the game, although it is expensive and requires a lot of C-44 to make the ammo yourself. Just a nitpick I like, but some items in the game can also be hazards even if you don't use them. One of the best examples is sodium, a chemical that I often use for making explosives, but can also be used to make blood packs. There's a specific instruction on what not to do with it. However, while I was doing my errand outside, I kinda forgot I still had sodium on my person. Shit. No, I'm injured. Healing and injuries are straightforward, assuming you have applicable medical items for various kinds of injuries. Yes, bleeding is also a thing in this game, so try not to stray too far from the sub, or forget to buy bandages. That sounds silly coming from me, but the one time the mud raptors necked my crew, we did run out of bandages, and my medic, understandably, looks pretty stressed out. However, other than being drunk to shit. There are a couple of statuses that are not visible. The first is husk infection. Sometime after you get bitten, you will see certain text indication on the top screen. If it starts talking about muscles or the throat, drop what you're doing and quickly treat yourself. I'll give credit to this game. Unlike zombie games, this infection is well known, and there's already a cure for it, treating it more as another dangerous hazard instead of an outbreak. But what about the other one? Now, I'd like to show you something here. What exactly is going on in this scene? You got your answer? Now, here's the true answer. All of that didn't happen. If those didn't happen, why? Goddamn psychosis. One of the ways to get this is if you hold a psychosis artifact for too long. Unfortunately, I was one of those victims. It's much harder to spot than husk infection, so if you think your crew member is affected, simply look at the other bots and see if they are reacting to something you're saying. If they don't, get yourself haloperidol. Now, about the combat itself in the waters. It's goddamn horrifying. Oftentimes, a small mistake can doom an entire submarine, and that is to a baffling degree. Although I'm saying that as an incompetent captain this sub has ever had. I just left for 1 second. A small leak at the other part of the sub can suddenly turn a compartment into an extra ballast. Sub-critters that look pretty small? Yeah, some of them knew where the airlock was. Cave diving for resources. Oh shit, you forgot to bring extra ammo. You're swimming outside, but thankfully nothing happens to you. Oh shit, your idiot crew took 10 business days to finally realize there's a horde of strashers breaching through the hole in front of their eyes! Mining resources or salvaging items in full view of the sub. The water currents decided to change my parking spot.
Huh?
I might as well replace my blood pressure with a nuclear reactor at how much bullshit I suffer from these. But at least 75% of such inevitable doom can be blamed on your crew, because they have quite a fascinating use of logic on what to do inside a sub. But if we're being serious, it is uncomfortable. Not at the fact that we are on an alien moon, but the sea itself is vast. So infinite when we look outside the sub. Even with the presence of sea vegetation, corals and surface rocks from different biomes, they all look the same, which makes it very disorienting if you are to do missions outside the sub. Especially since most of the time the sea is dark, with little chances of natural light from the surface shining to your current depth. This is also exacerbated by the fact that this game is a side-scroller, and so your view is completely limited to the surroundings of your monitor screen, not beyond it. As if the devs thought we didn't have enough realism, limited visibility, as in what your characters can see, is also a part of this game. I never thought cave diving could be scarier than this. Soleram, 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 oh anak yang manis, anak manis janganlah dicium, sayang kau dicium, merahlah pipinya. Sonar plays a huge role in this fact, and thankfully this game has handheld sonar for divers to use, but that only lessens the horror. Darkness becomes a persistent theme beyond 2000 meters in depth, and the game managed to completely instill uncertainty in me, a fleeting fear even. Even if you are in the safety of your own sub, you don't feel like you're finally out of the woods, not because you're scared of the dark, but because you're unsure if there's a much bigger fish simply hiding out of your view and your sonar. After a long while, I wasn't faced by most horrors the sea throws at me, but still, even I would hesitate if I have to force myself to sail past the Great Sea. There is a specific hunting grounds mission, passing the third biome, where you have to neutralize an abyssal monster along the way to allow colonists to safely make a new outpost at two adjacent spots. The name itself makes it clear where you need to go. Deep, deep down into the unknown. Here, there is nothing. Not even an indication of any sea life down here or any obstacles. You shouldn't be here. I felt vulnerable in this openness. Not much comfort in knowing you can't see any walls. Now I had decided to let my sonar ping on and on, making myself look like a small, delectable meal for any massive gas out there. Then, I see it. It saw me. You said, oh, shh, are you sick? Start shooting, you idiot. And as if God doesn't hate me enough. Shit, turn it off. The hunt has become a matter of survival. My sub is already specialized for hunting abyssal monsters, but having to fight two different abyssal monsters altogether is nothing short of a death sentence. The latter is a complete annoyance of a monster, but at least that monster knows how to retreat, lessening my problem. But the current greatest threat is the N-worm itself. Outfitted with hard-shooting armor gotten from Australia's finest armory, it is the most tanky beast Europa has ever had. My submarine would have folded from its gaping jaw alone had I not upgraded the hull with Psychorium. I did not have nuclear railguns at the moment, but I had explosive-filled railgun ammo, and even then, it only tickled it. At best, it tore its armor open. The way the beast sails around me, smoothly turning away and circling around me at certain bends, uncanny imitation of a serpent. No beast without any fins or propulsion should move that fast within seconds. And again, this is the breath of the abyss. Outrunning it is futile. Even if you think about swimming outside once a sub goes down, you're nothing more than a free meal. Thankfully, I'm privy to its size and took advantage of it. It can't move that much near the ceilings of the sea, much less a gap big enough only for my sub. I took that chance, using the gaps to deny attacks from either side and moving back and forth to dodge attacks from below, with my crew unleashing their wrath. The latter momentarily distracted us, but we kept at it. And finally, at one momentous window, the N-worm aims for my fore topside. That's it. Gotcha! The beast is no more. Okay, Ledger's dead. But now what? Now, with the abyssal monster dead, we finally got ourselves a high payout. How much is it? 15,000 marks? 16,000? 7, it's 8,500 marks, compared to Iahi's abyssal hunting grounds mission, which gives you between 18 to 20k marks, depending on which monster they kindly identified for us. Finally, missions are bullshit. Yeah, this is actually my main gripe in this game. The mission payment. To be fair to the game, I'm not exactly familiar with the Finnish currency, especially since I found out my country's rupias are worth 3,000 times less than the Finnish marks, and some of those missions do not need much change of reward due to their nature. But I'm of the belief that some mission payouts should adjust depending on how dangerous a biome is, especially for the abyssal monster extermination itself. Now, I'm not asking to go as high as Iahi in terms of reward. I believe that at a minimum 10,000 marks will be enough to justify what my sub is about to suffer. At max, 12,000, mostly to replenish ammo, materials to make ammo, medical, and optionally engineering fuels to fix the sub, and probably more RAM for the crew. This is just my opinion, however. Of all the abyssal monsters I fight, Charybdis is the worst, because that thing really treats my submarine like breakfast. I'll take an N-worm any day over fighting that thing. And to justify the trauma and armies you're going to get from killing them, simply swim outside, equip the clown hammer, and mock their remains by honking their body. Fuck out. At the very least, sea horrors aren't the only ones you're fighting against. There are times you'll fight other humans too. Their good armaments are grief on my side. Unfortunately for them, I have nuclear weapons. Wanka. You also get to fight an enemy sub, which frankly is much easier to do than I expected. There is another way to beat your enemy: biological warfare. Unfortunately, I'm not exactly an expert in that field, but I'm sure some of you have an interesting plan to commit war crimes in this game. Now we can move to something a little lighter. No, not the crafting, we are already familiar with that. This game has two different editors in the main menu. One is the character editor, and unfortunately I don't know how to use that. But submarine editor, the best thing this game has for those who are terminally addicted to aquatics engineering. Saya telongo aja pas pertama kali pakai editor ini. But thankfully, there are many tutorials on the web and YouTube on how you can make your very first submarine. Surprisingly for me, making the sub from scratch was straightforward. Then came the other bullshit. Assigning holes, wiring the entire ship, reading how the hell to do basic wiring, more complex wiring, adding gaps between holes, spawn point, waypoints, goddamn waypoints testing, finishing touches, and you're basically done. Assuming you didn't miss anything, I have made a few of my subs: the Sofian, the Orb, and the Bargong. The Bargong could probably need one more ballast. You can also do a bit of engineering during in-game progression, so unleash your schizophrenic intelligence, my fellow introverts. It does need improvements here and there, hopefully without relying on mods. Improve pathing and work logic for bots, friendly fire restrictions for bots manning subguns to not accidentally shoot me, and make the bots not shoot bandits that are arrested by me. Abungol. Imagine being a medic who patched the arrested criminal and you witness this. Now, Barotrauma actually has an ending. Despite its sandbox-like progression, passing all 5 biomes, you'll reach what's called the Eye of Europa. What is the ending like? Unlike the previous video, I shall not spoil it for you. The trip will be unearthly, unnerving, but it is the best ending I've ever seen in this game. Editing Raya here, I just realized I screwed up on when the game first released. I somehow missed the development wiki. Its first reception was back on the 31st of July 2015 in pre-alpha under a different title, Subsurface. By 2019, Undertow had already lent a hand in development and published it on Steam under early access. By 2023, Barotrauma will be considered a full game. Apologies for that part. If you are gamers or programmers who like to contribute to Barotrauma's development or make your own mods, you can check out the GitHub in the Barotrauma wiki, because that is what cool developers do. And that, my captains, is all I can say about Barotrauma. If you're the kind who likes horrors about the sea, an engineer with ADHD, or basically messing around causing chaos to colonies and crew everywhere, this is your game. If I say anything wrong or inaccurate, my apologies. As usual, sampai jumpa semuanya. Have a nice, pleasant day, wherever you are.